You are listening to the Amplifying Leadership podcast, where we explore what great leadership really looks like through our guest stories, actionable takeaways, and expert conversations. I am Tara Lehman, founder and CEO of Amplifying Leadership, here to help you lead with intention and influence. Don't forget to join us on Thursday for Tip Thursday with Tara every week as well. For today, thank you for tuning in to today's guest episode. Today, I am welcoming Jim Marsh, author and leadership coach. Welcome to the show.
Well, thank you very much. I appreciate it, Tara. It's very nice talking with you.
And you, and I'm very excited about your tax that you want to talk about today. So audience, don't run away. It's not that kind of tax. But before we get started, why don't you just tell us a little bit about yourself?
Well, I've been in business for a few years. The age is showing now, but it's also given me a good perspective across multiple industries. I've worked for multiple corporations, been a director in a company, been a consultant. I was a road warrior for many years before COVID. But sort of as I've slowed down somewhat, I've gotten into looking at my past and some of the things that I've seen through a lot of the companies. And I wrote my first book last fall on Culture OS, or an operating system.
Congratulations.
And now I expanded it now with Culture Tax.
Aha, that's the tax we're talking about today.
Yeah.
So go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, when you really look at it, every company has a culture tax.
Mm-hmm.
It's embedded in everything they do. And it never shows up. If you really think about it, it's, the turnover rate that you have.
Mm-hmm.
That's one of the drawbacks that happens with, the culture tax is the fact that, if you look at, there's 6 categories that's there. It's rework. Now, every company who's in production, or even if you're doing PowerPoints in a business, there's rework. You have a manager who says, go do a PowerPoint. After the 15th time of redoing it, there's a tax associated with that.
Yeah.
That's about 8 to 15% if you look at the numbers. Turnover. A company who has high turnover because they just haven't been productive, and they lose their good people. The people that stay are the ones that are sort of accepted the way things are. The ones that leave are the ones that, may have been the high performers, but they just get tired of fighting the fires.
Yeah.
The lack of decisions. I mean, that's a killer in many companies. They have a meeting to have a meeting about the next meeting that they're going to have.
Yes.
It's crazy how many, and with remote meetings, everybody's on Zoom, of course, or Teams or Slack, and they're doing something else, not really paying attention. And you always know it because, they ask a question to somebody and they ask, "Hey, Jim, you there?" And they're not really listening. They're doing multitasking, and they got to go back and do it. But quite often decisions can't be made. And the same with, if you think about coordination. Now, between units, you got to have coordination and proper communications. If you don't have that, or decision steps, you lose a lot. And that's 2 to 5% of the numbers. And if you're not really helping out with moving people forward and giving them the authority to make decisions, you lose innovation. You don't get those people thinking about how to do things better. And with AI now coming into vogue, it's one of the key things people can look at is how to eliminate or reduce the impact of my job, which is really scary to a lot of people. They think AI is going to take my job away. But I always told people in the past, you need to look to eliminate your job, get rid of the mundane things that you're doing so that you can focus on more strategic things and more important things. And AI is actually allowing people to do that. It really hurts entry-level people, but it's one of the things that actually can be accomplished. And then it's just the plain execution or lack of execution. A 3-month project that takes 18 months to get done.
Yeah, a
You
lot of
look at
waste
the
there.
Yeah, you look at that. So all those numbers add up. I mean,
Hmm.
in my book, I have sort of a company called Apex Manufacturing, and the cost of it's a $100 million company, but one of the costs when you look at it and you add these things up is like $22 million a year. That's a
Wow.
heavy tax
Yes.
that gets buried in the general administrative costs. You know,
Yeah, for sure. Because you don't see it on a profit and loss statement, do you? It's invisible.
oh,
So unless you're monitoring the key performance indicators that go along with it, like cost of turnover, for example, can be 50,000 plus for a person, depending on the role. It can be so expensive.
well, it's not just that; it's the knowledge that you lose.
Oh, yes,
When
a
that
lot.
person walks out, and many companies, you know, it's a high performer, the guy who's always fixing things. But they've
Hmm.
also allowed that individual to sort of keep that information in his silo. He holds on
Hmm.
to it because it's his protection. They can't lay him off because he's the only one that knows it.
Yeah,
But think what happens when he goes on vacation or he, God forbid, he hits by a car, he's in the hospital.
right.
Things fall apart because
Hmm.
many companies do not have that backup plan. They don't have sustainability. So the execution that is required falters just because they've
Hmm.
relied on one individual in that department. So even though it's a turnover cost and the fact that that person may not be available, the impact to the company can be severe. In many cases, it is. It's like
Yeah,
that
yeah.
that old adage, there's a major equipment failure, and the guy who used to work on it retired, and he comes in, he says, I can fix it, for $10,000. And they go, fine, fine, fine. He goes over, he hits the hammer in one spot, and it works.
Hmm.
He said, I'm paying you $10,000 for that? Yes, because I know where to hit it. No one
Yes, I
else
have
did.
I have a family relative who, when he retired, they didn't even try to cross train a successor, and so he became a consultant. You're paying him a lot of money to come in there and do maintenance on your machines as a consultant than it would have been if you did a succession plan, right? So let me ask you this, Jim. What would you say some of the downfalls are if we ignore the tax that culture can have on us? We only look at our profit and loss.
Well, you get what you deserve.
Fair enough.
I mean, that's basically what you do. If you're looking at competitors
Hmm.
from that standpoint, two even competitors that are actually doing the same type of business, one is actually reducing their culture tax and gaining what I call the culture dividend,
Hmm. Oh,
and
okay.
because if you start solving these issues, it compounds itself. If you
Yes,
don't have high
absolutely.
turnover, if you're making proper decisions, you're making, things coordination faster, quicker. You've given, the proper decisions to the level of people. You're allowing your staff to be innovative and,
Yes.
try things out. You're making a safe place for them to work in.
Hmm.
You're going to see your revenues drive upwards versus you've got the managers that's got to control the decision process. It's got to go through gates. Everyone has to
Yeah.
approve the next level. The people are, when something breaks, they go through the firefighting mode because no one is trying to fix what has been broken, and everybody knows it's broken.
Hmm.
But everybody says, "That I've told them multiple times, they won't listen to me. So
Hear that? Yeah.
I'm just going to live with it." That's all we can do. So there's no innovation, there's no improvement. They suffer along, so they just get buried in that culture tax.
Hmm.
So one
Yeah.
company does really well, they're getting the dividend, the other one's just suffering along and wondering why can't we grow our revenue?
And I think you can see that a lot with competitors, can't you? If one is strong around the people and the culture and one is not, you can see a competitor start to sort of take off, so to speak,
Oh,
right?
definitely. I
Yeah.
mean, I look at, one of the things I did a long time ago, and this really brought it home to me, is, when I first became a manager, I wanted to do it all. I wanted to
Yeah.
make sure I created an information center. But we got the request in, I did the requirement, I mapped it out, I gave it to my staff and said, okay, do it this way.
Mm-hmm.
And I was working 12, 14-hour days, and my family wasn't seeing me, and I was getting burned out, and I was tired. I finally had one of my employees say, Jim, I can do this. Why are you doing all this work? Just let me do it. It's like the light bulb went off.
Why
It's like,
not let them do it, right?
I hired him to do this. Why am
Mm-hmm.
I doing this? Let him do it. He may not do it exactly the way I would do it, but he get the outcome that was required.
Mm-hmm.
And I became more outcome focused, the value focused, where a
Right.
lot of companies want to do busy work. Keep busy, just keep busy. Well, think about the value that you're trying to provide. When you start thinking about value, things change. I
Absolutely. Yeah.
mean, I actually created, I was asked by a VP one time to become his walkabout guy. I said, what
Walkabout
do
as
you mean?
in, go ahead.
Yeah. I said, what do you mean walkabout guy? I want you to walk through my organizations, find things that are broken, and get them fixed. Because that's what I did. I started quality engineering, systems analysis, parts control systems. I fixed broken things. I
Mm-hmm.
did lean, identifying, things how to improve.
Mm-hmm.
But the hard part about that was I was one person walking through amongst my peers, finding broken things in their organization that they already knew about, but they just didn't do anything about it. So I
Mm-hmm.
was the snitch on them. I said, no, I don't want to be a snitch. I want to be that extra voice partnering with you to take something is broken and we go together and identify what the value is in there and we sell it to get it done. So I built partnerships, and that's the coordination and communications aspect of it.
Mm-hmm.
And as part of that, I identified a gap in the business. This was a telecom company. They did fraud and collections,
Mm-hmm.
and the fraud people worked on real time. Collections worked on delinquencies 60, 90 days later. I said, there's a gap in here. There's people that never pay the bill, but it's tens of thousands of dollars. What
Mm-hmm.
if we identified them earlier, like in 10 days?
Right.
So I could save thousands of dollars by identifying bad guys early.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah.
I had a VP say, do it. They gave me 10 people. And I did. Not only
Oh.
did I identify the bad people and shut them off quicker, I also did something else. I identified the good people, the high payers. And I gave them to marketing and customer service and say, treat these with kid gloves. You don't
Mm-hmm.
want them to leave. These are the people, if you got a new product,
Yeah.
give it to them. If they come and call customer service, send them to the top of the queue.
Mm-hmm.
And what they finally figured out when I grew the staff to close to 200 people doing this, that I was bringing $60 million a year to the bottom line.
Wow.
But, but what I did was I also asked my staff, what improvements can you find to make your job easier?
Mm-hmm.
They
I love
became
that.
innovators. And if we put something in place, I'd walk out with $50 and say, here's $50.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody saw that. It's like, wow. An idea
Yeah.
gave me $50. I better start thinking, look for stuff. So they started looking how to improve the interaction. Another department was completely opposite. They treated people very poorly, dictated everything,
Mm-hmm.
had high turnover. I never had high turnover because all the good people in that other department, If I had an opening, they came to me.
They came to you.
I never had an opening more than a couple of days.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it talks to the collaboration, doesn't it? I mean, I remember doing, our guys in our warehouse would say, we have some ideas for this, and we'd let them run with it. I mean, why not? I mean, they made it so much more efficient. We did lean as well. They made it much more efficient just by letting them do it than having leaders come in and say, I think this will work, right?
Well, quite often, I bring in consultants. I mean, I was brought in multiple times as a consultant
Mm-hmm.
to write a report. And guess what? That report, thank you very much, Mr. Consultant. It goes on a shelf.
And it gets dusty and stays there, yeah.
Yeah, it's like, why did I do that?
Mm-hmm.
I got paid for it.
Mm-hmm.
But was it really a good functional use of money?
Mm-hmm.
I
Yeah.
once worked for a company who had a collection manager who hadn't done any collecting. He said, well, I have to have a collection system. I said, you have billing, you have the people who haven't paid, right? You have a report, correct? He said, yeah. Do you have a finger and a phone? Yeah. That's your system. Start
Mm-hmm.
there and then justify the automated system.
Yeah. Show that it can do something. Yeah, exactly. Let me ask you this. I'm curious because, when we think about culture and bringing culture in, if it's not strong, I mean, and we think about the culture tax, how do we help leaders make this switch? If they're the leader who is not really doing this yet, but we want them to do that, maybe they're strong at their skill level and we want them to be able to grow this way. How do we help them? What are the strategies to help them move into understanding a culture tax and understanding the benefits of collaborative and growing your employees and listening? What are your thoughts on that?
Well, part of that is, the culture operating system, the foundational aspects of it.
Mm-hmm.
And that's part of what I call the practical use of management.
Mm-hmm.
I also can call it the 3 C's: clarity, consistency, and consequence.
Mm-hmm.
If you're clear on what you're trying to do, everyone understands it. I mean, many companies, if you go out and ask people, what's our company's top priority for the quarter? You'll get 20 different answers.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's not clear. No one's working the same direction. They're all going their different ways. And they pull against each other. Silos don't want to work together. There's the divisions between departments. They don't share information. Top priority over here is not a top priority over here. So there's lots of delays and decision lapse. So that's part of it. The other one is consistency. Always being consistent. And I sort of say that is the say-do architecture.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay. Because if you say what you're going to do, and I used to call it walking the talk.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
If you're going to say something, you need to walk it. And that's the same thing with the say-do architecture. If you are clear and consistent, you're in the upper right quadrant and your team is functioning really well because they know you have their back. Mm-hmm. They know you're going to be clear with direction. And if they have a question, they can ask and you're going to answer it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And if there's something that's going wrong, you're going to address it. If something's going positive, you're going to reward it.
Mm-hmm.
One of the things a lot of leaders do is, all the blame goes to the team, all the accolades go to them.
Yes, it's a problem.
And I reverse that.
Mm-hmm.
I said the accolades go to the team. They do the work. They should get all the accolades. If something the team does is wrong, that's my fault because I allowed it to go wrong. Now, the benefit of that is the team sees, I'll take the bullet.
Right.
Okay?
Mm-hmm.
So if I ask them to do a little extra work,
they're more willing. Mm-hmm.
They're definitely willing to do it.
Yeah.
Because they know if something goes wrong, I either wasn't clear, so it's sort of my fault, and I'll take the blame for it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I have a question. Oh, sorry. Go ahead. Go ahead.
And that's basic leadership. And when we talk about consequences, if you have a negative consequence, you don't sit on it. You address it relatively quickly, within 48 hours.
Mm-hmm.
And the same thing with a positive. If there's positive feedback, you let people know you did a great job there.
Yep. Give a little praise.
And that's sort of what I call the six SBI plus: situation, behavior, impact, and action. That's the plus.
Mm-hmm.
And the situation is, hey, yesterday in the meeting, you interrupted Sally 15 times. And she's doing her presentation. She really couldn't get her point across because you kept interrupting. What can we do differently in the future so that you get your answers, but you don't interrupt quite as much? And the answer is, well, maybe I'll wait till the end of the presentation, because then she gets to lay out her entire presentation, and some of my questions might have been answered. That's right. So let's do that going forward.
Yeah. Yeah. And I like that you're asking them, because they should come up with the solution if they're going to buy into it too. But it also empowers them to come up with a solution that might work for all parties.
Well, it's like most managers. Don't give me a problem without a possible solution. You know better than I do. Give me a couple of different ways it might work out, and I can sort of weigh the benefits and risks. And there may be no risk. I would say do it.
Yeah. Yeah. With huge benefit usually at the other side.
Because once you start doing that, more ideas will come forward. They'll be more willing. You've created an environment where they can question a little bit. A lot of people are afraid to question, and some cultures, they do not question anything. Yeah, they nod their head.
They nod their head, yes.
It's always an agreement. Everything's an agreement. If they disagree, they agree, or they're silent. And that's one way of knowing when things are falling apart, is when the team goes silent.
Yes.
Because
they're afraid to speak up.
Well, they're afraid to speak up, and they don't care anymore. They actually don't care. And you're on your final legs when you start to get to that point.
Yeah. What would you say to leaders or business owners who, the numbers are important, the KPIs are important, key performance indicators for our audience, the profit and loss is important, and so they love the visible. What would you say to them about paying attention to the invisible?
Well, part of that is you don't only have your key indicators, not only have the positive, the revenue, but also the behavior that got you there. Because sometimes a salesperson will do anything for the revenue, even the unethical. Yeah, I got the revenue there, but it's unethical. And guess what? Other people see that. External people see that. Internal people see that. Where you're allowed to get away with something just to meet the deadline. You bring everybody in on a Saturday to work to meet the deadline, but they have to give up their Saturday.
Yeah, give up their family Yeah.
So is that really the right way to be a leader and be a strong leader? Because that's either a result of poor planning, questions weren't identified earlier, clarity wasn't given. So the result is a failure. Oh, all hands on deck, firefight. And after so many times of firefighting, because of poor planning and poor leadership, the good people who have opportunities to leave.
Yeah. And that's
that
the biggest loss.
With them.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah.
And that's part of that, turnover cost, because I would much rather have someone who, if he doesn't like the job internally, go into another department.
Yeah, somewhere they enjoy, for sure.
Well, yeah, because I always tell people, even today, I coach some interns, and I tell them, you got to have fun at work. You have to enjoy getting up in the morning. If you don't enjoy getting up in the morning to go to work, then you need to really think about it. Is this really for me? And I actually took my own advice a couple of times. Yeah. When I get up in the morning, goes, oh my gosh, I don't want to go in today. oh, I hate this. And after a while, I said, I need to step away.
Yes, I did the same thing.
I don't enjoy it. It's not good for my health. I'm taking bad attitude back home. I don't need to do that. I need to regroup. One time I volunteered for a layoff.
Yeah, I mean, if people who are unhappy, then that sometimes is what happens. And sometimes, my early career, I mean, I gave 2 weeks notice, but I left earlier because they didn't respect my decision, and their loss, my gain, because I found a company that I was with for a very long time after that. So yeah.
But that's the key component there. And if you have to hire somebody fresh, you have to train them. But if you can take someone and move them to another job within the same company that they would enjoy and have fun doing, you got all that inherent knowledge that goes with them. The training time is diminished.
And you don't lose any of it. You don't lose the knowledge even for the department they were in, because you still have someone to reach out to, of course. Yeah. So as we sum up today, I'm wondering if there's a quick tip you want to share with our audience about the culture tax.
Well, the real key component there is you can't put the tax on the P&L. You absolutely cannot. But you're paying it every quarter. So if you don't address it, again, I'll go back, you get what you deserve. It's there. It's inherent in every company. Poor leadership only makes that tax grow. Good leadership actually diminishes the tax. And as I mentioned, there's a cultural dividend that comes with it, and it compounds upon itself. Because once you start improving and getting that money back, that innovation, the communications, those decisions that people make really start improving the overall attitude of the company, and actually how you interact even with your customers.
Yeah.
Because you're more positive, and the customers see that, and the respect that customers have for you and you for them becomes entirely mutual.
And I think I would add, it certainly helps your public relations when your employees are talking about your company in a positive way too.
Oh, definitely. Definitely. The fact that, hey, if you need a job, come here.
Yeah, exactly.
I love my job here. This is a place you want to be. So if you need to grow the company growth, your ability to attract people is much easier. You're not throwing out the net and say, I'll take in anybody. You can be more selective from that standpoint.
Exactly. Yeah.
And that's one of the things, from an HR perspective, you make sure you hire people that sort of meet the culture.
Yes. For sure.
You ask a question, in your last job, did you retain knowledge? Were you the only person who knew that? Oh yeah, I always controlled stuff. Well, I don't know if you're like it here.
Yeah, exactly.
Because here, we're not going to allow you to do that. You're going to share, and you're going to have a buddy who's going to be your backup. Because we believe in sustainability.
Yeah.
And many companies forget about that little piece.
And I think that's
maintaining forever.
Yeah, exactly. And sustainability is important, and something I think you and I could talk about forever as well. But unfortunately, we have to wrap up today. So I want to thank you for those tips and talking about this tax that people don't always recognize is there. I think it's a very important conversation that we had today, and I really hope some people took some good tips from this. Now, I know you had your book, and I know there's going to be people wanting to connect with you because of this conversation today. How do they find you?
Couple ways. It's JEMPremiercoaching.com. There's also culture-tax.com.
Love that.
That's the website I have. There's an assessment that someone can take. It also allows you to have a free calculator so you can calculate your own culture tax. There's also a paid version that's more enhanced. And there's also a free call to have a discussion about your numbers and what you might want to do about that. So you can book a free call with me to have that discussion. And I also have the Culture OS is out on Amazon right now. The Culture Tax is in the final revisions. Should be published hopefully within the next few months.
Congratulations.
Thank you. I've also got a series I call the It's Practical series on Agile.
Okay.
Starting Agile roles, turning ceremonies into execution engines, and also look at business value within the Agile space. So I've been an Agile coach as well as an executive coach. And a lot of things that we're doing in the executive coach business is based upon Agile principles. 90 days, and you can have your foundation started.
Excellent. Great. And thank you for letting our audience know about the free resources as well, so they can at least dabble in it and then contact you when they're ready. So greatly appreciate that and your time today, Jim.
Thank you very much, Darren. I really appreciate talking with you.
We, of course, want to thank you, our listeners. We do hope you gained some valuable insights and practical takeaways on the culture tax from today's conversation with Jim. If you enjoyed this episode, please share it with those who may benefit from the conversation, as it is one of the best ways to support us and our guests like Jim reach even more leaders with meaningful stories, tips, and advice. If you are looking to find more time or energy in your day, clarify leadership priorities, or build those strong teams, I'm here to help. Explore our solutions, offers, and resources at amplifyingleadership.ca, because leadership is better when we do it together.